Please bear with me for the entirety of this video, as this episode uses lots of assumptions to build this narrative. It should be looked at more as a metaphor than hard science, which, for example, the episodes about unbound telesis and negentropy were more about. That said, follow me into this story and I'll show you why you're both God and his victim, trapped in an endless Sisyphean journey with his highs and lows. Let's assume for a moment that, despite all logical predictions, humanity does get its shit together. All the governments and institutions lose interest in perpetrating capital for the sake of capital. A consciousness revolution comes seemingly out of nowhere to unite all the cells of the human colossus into a single harmonious hive mind. Everyone thinking not for themselves, but for the common good, and as a result, all the unsurmountable problems that threaten our extinction are magically solved. Climate change, Wetikos and capitalism, or your favorite of the pseudo-apocalypses proposed by the status quo to keep control of the narrative. And yeah, shit like murder hornets is just a dumb distraction in the face of climate change, but even something as serious as climate change is nothing when compared to the only real problem humanity is facing: AGI alignment, known to many as the Great Filter. In our amazing make-believe hypothesis, we can just assume humanity magically finds a way to either merge with AI or somehow create an aligned version of it to reach the good ending of the technological singularity. So that was a mouthful, but the reason I said all that is because we need something that sounds like an even slightly realistic journey to the post-singularity utopia that all the artificial general intelligence enthusiasts wish for, where everything is possible and we all have the power of God, molding reality as we wish and traversing the multiverse more easily than we can change the channel on a TV. Or, as Alan Watts calls it, the ability to dream any dream you wanted to. I'm not gonna leave you two alone for about 2 minutes, so you can, become familiar with this idea of dreaming any dream that you want to, and what it does have in common with the post-singularity utopia that I'm talking about.
Let's suppose that you were able every night to dream any dream you wanted to dream. And that you could, for example, have the power within one night to dream 75 years of time, or any length of time you wanted to have. And you would naturally, as you began on this adventure of dreams, you would fulfill all your wishes. You would have every kind of pleasure you could conceive. And after several nights of 75 years of total pleasure each, you would say, well, that was pretty great. But now let's have a surprise. Let's have a dream which isn't under control. Well, something is going to happen to me that I don't know what it's going to be. And you would dig that and come out of that and say, wow, that was a close shave, wasn't it? And then you would get more and more adventurous, and you would make further and further out gambles as to what you would dream. And finally, you would dream where you are now. You would dream the dream of living the life that you are actually living today. That would be within the infinite multiplicity of choices you would have, of playing that you weren't God. Because the whole nature of the Godhead, according to this idea, is to play that he's not. The first thing he says to himself is, man, get lost. Because he gives himself away. The nature of love is self-abandonment, not clinging to oneself. Throwing yourself out, as in, for example, in basketball, you're always getting rid of the ball. You say to the other fellow, have a ball. See? And that keeps things moving. That's the nature of life. So in this idea then, everybody is fundamentally the ultimate reality. Not God in a politically kingly sense, but God in the sense of being the self, the deep down basic whatever there is. And you're all that, only you're pretending you're not.
So yeah, what Alan is talking about there is basically traversing the multiverse, having access to any possible reality that you can, think about. And that's pretty much what the promise of this technological singularity is all about. What this video is about, though, is retrocausality and the Sisyphean tasks. So I'm just gonna tell you that once this newfound knowledge is embraced, you can actually see how under this paradigm, the endless reality you perceive is actually a causal loop where the ending is caused by the beginning and vice versa, meaning that you live within the Nash equilibrium of all events, and also meaning that at some point you had and will have access to all realities. While during the story, it really seems as if the ending where that happens is nothing more than a pipe dream though, which is why we really need a consciousness revolution in order to reach what the ending is for us, which is, the technological singularity, the good ending, we hope. So, yeah, my boy Sisyphus really had it bad, rolling a boulder up a mountain for eternity, instead of spending an infinite amount of time living an infinite amount of stories, all infinitely different from each other. But actually, what Sisyphus is doing is exactly the same as what you are doing. I'm actually just gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna leave you with that thought. This is where the video ends. Actually, really think about the fact that you're doing nothing more than fucking pushing a boulder up a mountain over and over again in all of your incarnations. Please